You kind of object to this whole being submissive to your husband thing. But you'll readily be extremely submissive to an employer for money. But let's say this husband of yours, he's prepared to financially provide for you. He wants to make you a stay-at-home wife. You never have to work another day in your life. I would argue he's going to ask far less of you, and he'll be much more respectful of you than your employer will be. Your employer is going to bark orders at you. Be here at this time, wear this, do this job, sit here. You've all traded being submissive to a husband to being submissive to your employer. I find this interesting.
But if you were your own boss, then you're just submissive to yourself.
Sure, you can be. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm sure you'd agree, most people, man or woman, they're going to work, they're going to have a boss. And even people who are self-employed are beholden to someone in some way, one way or the other.
Submissive to somebody else.
To some degree. In any case, most people are employees.
Well, like even if someone drops something, they're like, hey, can you pick that up? And you go pick it up. Isn't that being submissive?
Well, that's a bit different from what I'm getting at here. But your employer is going to have very strict, okay, arrive at this time. If
wear
you're
this
late,
outfit.
Wear
Talk
this.
to the customers this way.
But if your
Upsell
husband is like telling you a couple things, like y'all won't listen. You won't follow his
Who
lead.
is y'all? Because please don't include me in that.
The greater modern, I'd say most modern women don't want to listen to their husbands.
I disagree. I'm sorry. I love doing stuff for my husband.
Yeah, so for you, I don't know what the case is with the dynamics with you and your husband, but a lot of women don't want to be submissive.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because men aren't like living up to their roles now as men?
Look, I
think women also aren't living up to their roles as women either.
I don't think so at all. Just the opposite, in fact.
I think women are like, we're constantly fighting against the role that we're supposed to have. You know, women are constantly being pushed away from that role. We're told, you know, you're not successful unless you pursue a career, unless you put all of your effort into that, unless you,
Agreed.
you know, you're with a ton of guys. You know, we're fed this lie that this is what we're supposed to do. This is the path that we're supposed to go down. This is what's going to make you happy. When the truth is, it's like, no, what would really make women happy is the role that we have been given, the blessing that we've been given by creating life, being mothers, being, you know, that's what we're
like
supposed
being
to
a
do.
TRAD wife.
Yeah.
I agree. I think nowadays, I think hookup culture has taken over.
Oh, yeah.
I think traditional, like women who want traditional families, like traditional lives as like stay-at-home moms, we're like a small minority now. I think it's more, I think it's very, very normal for a woman to want to have more dominance in the relationship, or they want to lead the men.
Yeah. They want the men to be the submissive one.
I don't even know if that's true though. It's like you're still attracted to men who are masculine and dominant and leaders, but the feminist mind virus says don't follow. So you still want the guy to
protect
lead,
me, provide for me, but
but
only
also,
when I want. But also when I
but when
want.
I'm in the mood to be led. And like it's just
like it.
Like going back to this, the same girl who's going to work like a brutal fast food job, dealing with a boss, barking orders, cleaning. She's going to be cleaning dirty dishes, maybe cleaning the bathroom, dealing with entitled shitty customers for like $15 an hour, $20 an hour. But like if a guy were to come into the picture who's got the money to support her, support a family, and even make sure she never has to work another day in her life, it's like, but she doesn't want to bow, doesn't want to cook, doesn't want to clean, but you'll do all that shit under the corporation.
I actually don't personally know one woman that is actually saying that she doesn't want to do any of that for her husband. Like, I literally don't know one person.
I mean, we've had a lot of women on the show.
TikTok, I actually see a lot of women begging to be one of those women.
Yes,
and it's like, because they want to get back to the older culture, and they don't approve of what's going on with women nowadays, or they don't approve of how women are acting so entitled nowadays. And I completely agree. Women are completely acting like they own everything.
Yeah.
Like women
Yes.
are the top, the money makers. But look at
generations
who
to
our
get back
influences
to
are.
what it
Like
was.
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Like freaking
Yeah.
Kylie Jenner. Like
Yep.
these
Yes.
billionaire women who have unrealistic everything. Like
Yeah.
even down to their
Yeah.
physical bodies
But
is
why are they
unrealistic.
billionaires?
Right. Well, because they sold the product.
Or
you know,
they're
which was
also
their
be-
self.
like,
But
for
they're also
example,
still
Kim
oppressed.
Kardashian.
They're also
Yes.
still like, I'm oppressed, and
Yes.
the system's somehow
Literally.
still rigged against
Yes.
me, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still can't do everything that men are supposed to do, and it's like, but that's not.
But like that influence is teaching
Yeah.
women in our generation. And then it's like these younger moms that we have now that grew up in a generation is just like they saw all that. Then they had kids. And then like, what do they teach their kids? Because this is all they know right now.
If they have kids.
If they have kids.
Well, and then there's all this different advice on how to raise kids. So everyone's raising their kids differently now.
Oh, yeah, there's too many opinions.
Like everyone's
Social
like, oh,
media.
gentle
Social
parenting.
media is
Oh, like
horrible.
whatever parenting. And it's like, can we just parent normally? Like, can
So
we
like,
just,
that's a good point. Because my sister doesn't believe in telling her kid no.
What?
She doesn't
that is
believe.
a huge problem.
And she's
Oh my
like,
God.
okay, well, if you, and she's literally like, oh, okay, well, just redirect the way you say no. I'm like, there's only one word for no. It's no. It's not like, maybe can you kindly not do that? No, it's like, no, don't do this because I'm the parent and I told you not to do something.
Would you please not
think-
stick that fork in that light socket?
Yes.
Please do not put your
Please
hand
don't
up on
do
the
that. You
stove.
might die.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Because you're afraid of like this negative of effect it's gonna have on their brains. I'm like, what?
Plus,
Like,
when they're told
I like
no
think-
later on. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think like now these days, like gentle parenting is taken so out of context because there's a specific way to do it, but people take it so far that there needs to be reprimanded, like
Yeah.
when it's bad behavior.
Yes.
There's a time where you have to be stern and be like, no is no.
Yep.
Because there's a time, my daughter, she's only 1.5, so basically she's at that terrible twos age, and
How did we get to? I'm sorry. How did we get to this?
We're talking about like trad wives.
Totally
Yeah.
And
derailed.
It's a good conversation. Honestly.
Wait, so
bad.
okay, really quick, just going back to the vow thing really quick. Then we have a couple chats I got to get through, and then the rest of the
So
notes.
honestly, well, Nala, you said that you see all these women on TikTok who they want to go back to this idea of traditional womanhood, and you want to go back to being trad women and this type of thing, right? But the thing is that I think most of these women are chameleons, in that when you press them on what they believe traditionalism actually is, and what they think submission actually is, and this type of thing, they really want an equal relationship or some type of egalitarian relationship. And I think that men categorically reject that more and more. They don't want it. They don't want to have an equally yoked relationship. It's not of interest to men to be equally yoked with women
Equally
in
yoked
that
as in
way.
religion?
I think that when you say equally yoked, that this term is applying to the ontology of men and women, and egalitarianism is not what that means.
Wait, are you talking about like equally yoked as in religion? Like you believe the same thing, or just equally yoked as like you are equal in being human?
Men and women, you would agree with me, right? We have an ontological difference. What is
Obviously.
a man and what is a woman is different. So ontology being the philosophy of being, right? What is the being of a man is not the same as the being of a woman.
Facts.
We're not interchangeable widgets. So saying that we're equally yoked is not saying we're equal. It's saying that there is a process, an ontological process of us being super compatible with each other. This is true if each of us is taking on the role we're supposed to be taking on, which is part of who we are as our being.
Agreed.
But what ends up happening, at least what I see, is that many women claim that they want that role, and then the second they're pushed in this role, or they're in the role and get pushed back in it, they become ultra feminist immediately. They revert to feminism in seconds. They will, if there's a divorce going on, they go from trad to feminist real quick. Look at Steven Crowder's wife, for instance. I can give you example after example after example of women who do this. They instantly move into feminism mode. I think that men generally they just don't believe them. They just don't believe them. They just don't think that they're actually telling the truth, that they're looking for any sort of traditional anything, because when pushed on these actual topics, it becomes more about me, the woman, than it becomes about the submissive role of the woman.
Right,
Rather,
but I do think
what do I
that
get? Go ahead.
I don't actually have any specific testimonies to this because I really don't know these people personally. I've just seen that like this is what they're pushing out on social media. So I really have no idea, and I've never pushed them on their views. However, I do feel like women are pushed into this role now because of what's going on social media, and I think that a lot of people see like these generational issues and want to be like so far from it that they want to be like back to the basics. You know what I'm saying? Like they see all of these issues being pushed out daily. Like everyone has an issue with something or someone about some different type of opinion. And some of us just want to get back to the basics of what being a wife is about, being a homemaker, you know, being that nurturing wife for your husband. But again, I've never pushed these topics on any woman.
Being a wife has anything to do with being a homemaker, though.
It does.
I think that in most situations we would consider the nuclear family needs a homemaker for sure.
But the homemaker is not the wife, you say?
No, I think that a good wife only has to do with one thing, and the idea of a good wife is the idea of submission, and that is the number one thing which makes a wife a good wife, is a submitted wife,
a submitted slave.
So yeah, see what I mean? It's like you revert right to feminism immediately.
I'm definitely not a feminism. I am so
yeah, I know,
pro
but
male.
Submission is slavery.
But you said that's the only role for a woman is for her to submit.
No, I didn't. I said that's a key quality to a good wife.
Is submission? But you don't think she should make a home? You think
no.
what?
I said a homemaker, right? Whatever you think a homemaker is tangential to submission, because if you have a homemaker who's not submitted, then who gives a shit?
I never said it wasn't. I do think a woman should submit to her husband.
Nothing. All other things past submission mean nothing without the submission portion. And the second you say a slave, right, you show exactly why men don't trust these TikTok women, because when pushed on what submission is, you equate it instantly to slavery. So why the fuck should they ever trust you?
It's because of the way you describe it. You really think that you should never bring up a topic to your wife, because ultimately what you say rules. That's it. There's no other option other than that. Your wife is there to listen to you when you want her to listen to you, but that is it. And that she can have no equal say in any type of issue.
Equal say?
But it's because do you feel in any way that your wife brings anything to your?
What does it mean?
Do you feel like your wife? You can keep interrupting me or treat me like an adult and respect me and listen.
I don't want to talk past each other. I just want to know what submission means.
Obey.
I don't want to talk past you.
It's easy, but it's also different because biblically, I mean, have you ever heard of like the man is the head and the woman is the neck?
No, the woman's the body. She reflects the body of Christ. The man reflects the head of Christ.
Okay. For me, I've just heard that the man is the head and the woman is the neck. However,
here's biblical marriage. Biblical marriage is the man reflects the head of the church, Christ. The woman reflects the body of the church. Okay? That the church itself is the body. Okay? That is a reflection. So the man is a reflection of Christ. As Paul says, wives, submit to your husbands as you would unto the Lord. As you would unto the Lord.
Absolutely.
So the thing is that when you say submission is slavery, you'd be saying the same thing about God. Your submission to God is slavery. Then.
No, it's not. But doesn't Paul refer himself to as a slave of Jesus Christ? And even a servant of Christ. Paul refers himself to a servant as a servant of Christ. So isn't that not the same thing? Is that not the same thing then?
No, it's not the same thing.
How is it not the same thing?
Because then you end up with this logical contradiction again, the circle. So it works like this. The man is the head, and the man's decision must be adhered to, and you must trust him to adhere to it in a godly way. If you move to point 2, where you say, but I must contradict the man, even though he's doing nothing moral or anything which purports against the reason of Christian ethics, then you move back to, I have no recourse but to listen to the man. So anytime you ask for the justification for the reasoning, right, anytime he gives you that, that's him being extremely kind to you, not a necessity that he does so. It's just a logical circle. It just always moves back.
Right, but do you not think that the wife has her own walk with Christ and that it's not the same as her husband's? So do you think that your walk with Christ is very different from your husband's walk with Christ? You are both going in the same direction.
You're one flesh.
You absolutely are, but you still have a different walk with Christ than your husband.
Okay, but who do you defer to know? So like, look, for instance, okay, your husband goes to you and he says, this church that we're going to, we're not going here anymore. And you say,
Oh, that's his spiritual leadership.
Hang on. He says, I really like the pastor. I really like this. And he's like, we're not going anymore. We're not going. Who do you defer to?
I need to have a different conversation with my husband, asking him why he doesn't feel this way anymore. I need to see why biblically he doesn't think that this church is good for us.
So he gives you a justification, you disagree?
No, I'm asking questions based off, I am questioning his. I'm not questioning his authority. I'm questioning where he stands with Christ.
He answers your questions, but hypothetically you disagree. Don't say hypothetically.
No, I never said I disagree. I'm asking why he thinks this. I'm literally asking his opinion on it. I'm not even disagreeing yet. You're saying that.
Engage with a hypothetical with me. So you talk to him, you're asking why, he gives you his reasoning, and you don't agree. So then what's the next?
I don't agree biblically?
You don't agree with why he wants to leave this church.
Well, honestly, that's okay then. So for me, I feel like no matter what, I'm here to serve the Lord, no matter what my husband does or doesn't do. So if we decide to go to another church, we go to another church under my husband's direction.
We don't decide. He decides. He's saying, we are going to a different church, and you disagree. So if
I go to the new church that he would like me to go to, but in the meantime, please let me finish. Please let me finish. If you don't want to be interrupted, I definitely don't want to be interrupted. However, you're asking me a question and I'm trying to back it up with what I actually think. So if he wants to go to a different church, that's fine. Let's go to a different church. But in the meantime, I can sit and pray and ask God, hey, listen, God, I think this was the wrong decision, but I am here to serve my husband like you told me to. So prayer can change everything. So God can literally come down and change his heart if what we're doing is wrong biblically. But again, yes, it is my role to submit to my husband no matter what.
Right. So then if he gives you zero justification, right? So he says, we're just leaving the church and I don't want to give you a reason as to why. Are you still going to leave the church with him?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then the justification part is simply a preference and not a requirement, because ultimately what you're saying there, Mrs. Andrew loves enslaving women, is that regardless of if he justifies it or not, you're going to fucking do it anyway. So if that is the case, then can you tell me why it's a requirement for him to create the justification to begin with?
Number one, you said it was a requirement. I never said it was a requirement for him to tell me why he was going to do something.
You said
all I said was I would ask his opinion on it. I never said it was his requirement to tell me. Me asking a question is not a requirement. He can completely ignore me if he wanted to.
Then how is my view of submission slavery, Nala?
Because are we referring to the video of this girl bowing and serving her husband like that?
No, you said my view of submission was slavery. How is it?
You can't see it.
How is my view of submission slavery if you literally agree with my view of submission?
Well, because the way you go about it is saying like, so no matter what, I'm going to make the decisions, basically F her. Like, it doesn't matter. She's the wife. I don't care, like, what she has to say. But you don't think that she could bring anything spiritual to the relationship because what? You're the man?
It's ultimately his decision. I just said it's ultimately his decision. So if it's ultimately his decision, you agree it's ultimately his decision. You're going to comply with it whether he justifies it or not.
Did I not say that it was obeying?
And that's exactly my view. Then how in the world could you then say that's because, Andrew, you want a slave? That makes no sense.
Well, just the way you speak about your wife is quite difficult for me to understand.
Would you like to talk to my wife?
Oh my God, can we?
Yes. Let's get her on. Let's talk to your wife.
Bring Rachel out.
Let's get Rachel.